Welcome to Real Estate Talk with your host, Ken Sax. This show is created for you, the consumer. Our goal is to empower you with information and education, thereby giving you the tools needed to make informed decisions when it comes to real estate.
Well, hi, folks. Welcome to Real Estate Talk, and I am your host, Ken Sax. This show is brought to you by Keller Williams Spokane. So thank you, Keller Williams Spokane. And our topic today, well, we talked about what to name the show. We thought, well, let's name it I Can Sell It Myself. So does that tell you what our topic's going to be? We're going to talk about folks that, hey, I don't need a real estate professional. I can sell it myself. So that comes up often. So we're going to get into that. So I'd like to welcome my guests here. We have Tanya Tyler with Keller Williams Spokane and Craig Hudkins with Keller Williams Spokane. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ken.
You bet. So I can sell it myself. Craig and Tanya, why do I need you guys?
Well, I think what we want to do is look at like the motivation behind someone who wants to try to sell it themselves first. I think we've got to look at that. It was someone who had a bad experience with an agent, and so they're thinking, I can do this better myself. Or it's someone that is seeing the money and going, I can save this. They've got that DIY mentality, kind of the new do-it-yourself. Mm-hmm. So they want to give it a shot, and they think, well, why not? And it's a hot market, and anybody can sell anything. And I hear that a lot.
Right.
People.
Right. True. And that's funny when you said they had a bad experience. There are a lot of people who end up getting a real estate license because they had a bad experience as a consumer. Mm-hmm. So I hadn't thought about that in a while, and you made me think about that. So yeah, you bet. Had a bad experience, but of course we have I don't want to pay you. I don't want to pay that money for you to sell my house.
The commission.
I mean, you just put a sign in the yard, then you go away. I never talk to you again.
Right. Put it online.
Yeah,
put a sign in the yard. That's all.
I can be online.
And then you just hope for buyers to come and buy your house, and you're done.
Price, post, and pray.
We hear
Price, post, and pray.
We go, in this
we
market,
hear that all the time.
Everything is selling. They're just hear it all the time.
Yeah, you bet. So, and you talk to a lot of folks who
every day
are actually trying to sell themselves.
Every day. I call for sale by owners every day.
So what are some of those conversations that you have with them?
Well, there's either the person who is like an absolute no. We don't want any agent involved in this sale at all. And a lot of times they won't talk to me for very long because I always introduce myself up front. I'm not trying to pretend I'm anything but a real estate agent. Then there's the folks that are like, well, we're going to put a price on it. Usually a high price, and we can see, we think in this market we can get this, and they're willing to have a conversation, and they might be willing to look at an agent down the road. Or there's the third person who is they've priced it, they've done their homework, they've priced it well, they may have a friend or a family member that's an agent, and they're going to try it for a couple weeks and then eventually list. So they just say up front, I've got an agent we're going to work with. But what I usually like is that person that's in the middle, who's just kind of throwing the price out there, because we know it's going to sit.
Mm-hmm. Right. And we know statistically it's going to sit. Mm-hmm. Whether they're priced well or overpriced, we know statistically it's going to sit and they're not going to be able to sell it.
Yep.
And they say that they got I always ask, how did you get your price? First thing, I just went to Zillow, and Zillow told me. Zillow knows. Yep. Zillow knows exactly what my house is worth.
And then I would ask, that's great. When was Zillow in your house?
Right. How did Zillow see your updated kitchen or your outdated kitchen?
Right.
Or the neighbor house sold for
That's
however much.
one.
And whether or not it's the same type of home or not, they think that because a home in their neighborhood sold for this price, they'll go about 10% above that because it's a hot market.
Right.
We know the buyer's going to want this house because it's a beautiful house and an amazing house, and that's usually what I hear. And I listen, I talk to them. I'm also now I am looking when I do call them. I am looking to hopefully list their home, but I do have a good sized inventory of buyers. People that are looking for homes.
Absolutely.
And the for sale by owners, believe it or not, are hard to find. It's like hiding it for sale is what we call it. You know, they're putting it on the market.
Hiding
They think they're getting the exposure they would get with an agent because they're just putting it online.
Yeah, I'm online. All I have to be is online.
Right. And they're not. Just the facts of the matter is they're not.
They're on some random site
Yep.
where they paid $99.99 for a package, and it included being online,
Yep.
but there's no traffic.
Right.
I'm going to tell my story real quick. I had a lady, a for sale by owner I just spoke to last week, and I have a buyer that's looking in this area. And she said, so you want to come and see my house? I said, yeah, we really would like to come see your house. And I said, but I'm so sorry. I just didn't know your house was available until I drove past it because I'm in that neighborhood looking for my client. And she said, well, why didn't you see it? It's on Zillow. And she just was so like, I put it on Zillow. I just don't know. And I said, we have almost 3,000 agents in Spokane. None of us are looking on Zillow for our clients. That's not where we search. So the marketing that agents do for our clients is completely different.
Sure.
We're hitting up different sites. We're putting it on the MLS where all of the agents are looking, not on Zillow. And so she was just so frustrated with me because I didn't see that.
Right, and we know today and yesterday and the day before, buyers are finding the home online. And so that's why there's this false sense of security. Well, then all I need to be is online, and get ready, honey, the door's gonna be opening and nobody's showing up. So yes, you want to be online, but where online is important.
And
not
how you
just
put it online too. And what I hear a lot is, and if I can get to them the first day and start talking to them and building the relationship, I try to, because I want to get to know them.
Sure.
I want to see if I can hopefully get a buyer for them, and then over a period of time I build a relationship, and they end up trusting me and wanting me to list their home.
Sure.
If I get to them early, our conversation is usually, pretty nice and cordial. If I get to them maybe a week or so after they've been online, they're annoyed because they've had 20 calls a day from agents. They've had 20 calls a day from virtual assistants that aren't even in this country calling on behalf of agents.
Right.
They've got people looking to buy their house at a bargain, get a lease option to buy. They're just getting so many calls. Everybody but qualified buyers are calling them. So it's a very different conversation when I talk to them early in the process. So they just get worn out over time.
Yeah, and you said qualified buyers.
Qualified buyers.
Think about an unqualified buyer drafting a contract, bringing it to the seller. Seller is now completely excited. Honey, we did it.
Right.
Now they're off the market only to find out 20, 30 days later, you could never buy our house. But you didn't necessarily know how to properly qualify someone.
Right.
Had that happen here recently. We actually, it was about a month and a half ago. Well, actually, it would have been about a month and a half ago that I started talking to this seller, and he was ready to list, but then he gets a call from someone who's a buyer. Well, he says, okay, I'm going to go ahead and accept their offer, and I'm like, great, we'll just stay in touch. A month later, I call him back, said, hey, how are things going? Because you should be getting ready to close. He goes, I haven't heard from that buyer the whole time. He goes, I don't think they're going to close. Sure enough.
No.
So now he's one of those ones that needed to sell his house before the end of the year. He wanted to sell his house before the end of the year because he has an inventory of investment homes that he wanted to sell. So now this one, we're listing it this weekend. And I know we could have it closed by now because it's under 200,000. It's on the north side. It's a great house. It would have easily sold in the first week of us listing it. I know it'll sell in the first week that we list it. And he got it tied up with this unqualified buyer for a month.
And it's interesting that you said that, because when you tell the story, you just think, yes, they're so excited they got the contract, and that guy said to you, we're all good. But you were so good about following up with him, and he's probably so grateful. And that's, I think that when we come in to help clients, even if it's the for sale by owner, it's that we're here to help you. We're not here to steal your money. We're not here to try to take your savings. We're here to get you to that next piece of your journey in life. And for him, he needed it at the end of the year. A little too late, but hopefully you can do a quick cash close.
Well, and I think something that we're able to do that the public just doesn't even think about. They don't even know. It's the thing
Right.
that they don't know that they don't know.
Don't know what they don't know.
Don't know.
We are experts in creating demand. We market it, it's like putting it in all available channels,
Right.
all available websites, and the best possible foot forward happens all at once. Week one on the market, you're getting in front of everybody that's going to be interested in buying a property like yours. That's how we create multiple offer situations.
Right.
Yep.
Now, when we get those multiple offers and how we handle them is how we get bidding wars. Does the average person know how to do that? They don't. They don't even know that they think it's just going to happen. Or they think that somebody's just wandering around neighborhoods with their checkbook
Right.
and enough money to buy a $200,000 house. And they're waiting for that person. They go, yeah, the neighbor, it happened to the neighbor. Happened to my friend.
Happened to my cousin. Yep.
They hear these stories. I mean, those are like the 1%, situations.
Right.
But the everyday situations is us listing it, having multiple buyers in the first weekend, getting the price bid up a little bit. Because when we have to look at the mentality of the buyer. When the buyer is all of a sudden told you can't have something, what do?
They want it more.
They pull out their budget. They push things to the limit because most people are shopping below their budget. So when we list it, we all of a sudden, you get multiple people interested. You tell them, we're making a decision by Monday. We've got multiple offers. You need to bring your highest and best. You better believe people do. They show up and they do it.
Right.
It's true. It's true.
That's how you make more money. You don't list your property high and think that you're going to get people to pay that top price when really they're just going to watch it come down once it hits the price that they want to pay for it.
And then
You
now
list
the
it-
seller's beat up and
Yeah.
desperate, and they're ready to tap out.
Yep. You list it lower, you get multiple people interested, they bid it up. And that number always ends up being more. Always.
Yeah, that's a good point. And, so many sellers, of course, the reason that they want to sell themselves, we talked about it, is I don't want to pay the commission. And I was sharing with you guys that at least Washington State used to do a survey for years until the recession and budget, they may cut. But when they were doing the research, it was fascinating. Every year they would have data on how much the house would sell for without a licensed real estate broker and how much it sold for sale by owner. And it was a range over probably a 7-year period. And the biggest difference, it was up to about 26% more with a licensed agent, all the way down to about 14% more with a licensed agent. So, pick a number on commissions. Let's just say 5 for whatever. Commissions are negotiable; they're not fixed. But there's no standard. Let's just say 5, just for this conversation. 5%. So you left 15 on the table, but I saved 5%. So you ended up leaving 10% on the table. In the weaker years, the stronger years at 26%, you left 21% on the table. Yet you feel good. I did it myself. See, I told you I could.
But you left money there. Right. It makes no sense.
Well, and we're not even talking about the time that you had to spend trying to get that home sold. I mean, if we
Right.
all put a dollar amount on the if someone, the average person in Spokane makes probably $40,000 or $50,000 a year.
55, yep.
So that's $20-some an hour, and you're spending. Let's say you got to take time away from work to go home and open the house up. You got that weekend. You're running an open house. You're taking time away from your family. I mean, can you put a dollar amount on that?
Right.
I mean, add that up, and in addition to, and there's just no way that someone selling it themselves can save any money.
No, and if a for sale by owner would take time off from work to go open the house up, that would be better, because in my experience with buyers, if we find a house that is not listed, it's either voicemail, because it's 2-3 o'clock in the afternoon, 11 o'clock in the morning. It is either voicemail or I don't get off work till 5. I can meet you there at 6. Yeah, we'll probably be signed around on another house by that time. So, I tell people considering selling it themselves, when you are at work, your house is off the market.
Yeah.
And, sellers all say they want the most amount of money, least amount of headaches, shortest amount of time. and the most amount of money comes from exposure. And you know, I remember there's a street where I used to. Doesn't matter what I used to do there, but I used to run and bike over there.
Were you doing chaos? Were you doing some trouble?
It was.
I want to know what this is.
It was a dead end street, and it was the third house in from the dead end.
Yeah.
And they had a for sale by owner sign in the yard, and I am looking around this dead end street with two more houses to the dead end, and there might have been a house across the street, and maybe the next door neighbors. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 people know your house is for sale.
Right.
Because you're on a dead end street.
You're on a dead end street.
Right.
Yeah.
So interesting. It's just interesting. So again, my guests today, Tanya Tyler, Craig Hudkins. We're talking about folks who are considering selling their homes themselves. We have about 1 or 2 minutes left. We talked about, I had a bad experience. I can do this. I don't want to pay commissions. Yet we talked about how much you're leaving on the table. So you're still at a net loss, a significant net loss. I just touched on exposure because sellers want the most amount of money, least amount of time. That takes exposure and lots of it, not just the sign or the random ForSaleByOwner.com site that gets no traffic. Anything else, you guys? And I talked about when you're at work, the house is off the market.
Something to point out. So I've, in the last 3 years that I've been in real estate, a little over 3 years, I've listed probably about 45 or 50 for sale by owner homes. And out of those homes that I've listed, 9 out of 10 of those have sold in the first weekend. And by the time I had listed it, they had all been on the market at least a month.
That's fascinating.
So by the time I get it, we list it, we sell it in the first weekend, sometimes the first week, sometimes the first day. And they've been trying for a month.
I think that shows you the power of an agent.
Absolutely.
As a good agent, you have a bad experience, interview those agents. Make sure that you're getting the best agent that you possibly can. If you're thinking about going with the agent for sale by owner, make sure that it's the right fit. Make sure you understand, because that's impressive with, the small amount of time that you have to get to wherever you need to be. So
yeah, and the bad experience. So you have a bad experience with a dentist. Are you going to go to the dentist again? You had a bad experience with a police officer. Are you going to call the police if you need them?
Right.
Or a teacher? Are you still going to send your kids to school? So I get all that.
Yeah.
Folks, how do we get a hold of you guys? Tanya?
TanyaTyler.com or 509-230-4579.
Awesome.
Call or text 509-979-5338, or you can find us on Facebook at Optimist Group.
Great. I can sell it myself has been our topic today on Real Estate Talks. Tanya Tyler, Craig Hudkins, our guests. Folks, thank you for joining us. You've been listening to and viewing Real Estate Talks, and I'm your host, Ken Sax, and we will see you next time.
Thanks for watching. Real Estate Talk is produced in Spokane, Washington by SpokaneTalksMedia.com, which is solely responsible for its content. Ask Ken a question, recommend a guest, or hear this program again on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Spokane Talks.